Hello, everyone, and welcome to an exclusive interview with the CEO and founder of the travel app called NaviSavi, a place where users can post up to 3 clips per location in exchange for $1 per clip. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, today in this video, we are going to be diving deep into the questions, getting down to the bottom of this. Speaking of NaviSavi, can you tell us about what inspired you to create the app?
Absolutely. I mean, several things all culminated into this process. Actually, the idea for NaviSavi started 10 years ago this month, which is quite insane. I was sitting on a roof bar overlooking the ocean in Lima and drinking a pisco sour with my buddy. And he's like, you know what? Everybody's always asking us, like, how do I go do what you guys are doing? Like, I want to go travel. I want to go to Lima. Or I want to go to Peru. Or I want to follow your, journeys. And so it was kind of like, well, we're constantly getting asked this, and we were creating these packets. Like when I was at the record label, I'd leave for the people I worked with and that worked with me a packet of where I was going to be every day, every step of the way, and what company, just in case they need to get a hold of me. That was a little bit before constantly having WhatsApp at those days. But so these packets, people really started gravitating to this, and then really kind of connecting what they were seeing on my social media. And I won't say the FOMO, but people were like, my God, I'm loving your travels, what you're doing. Like, I really want to, I think I want to go to Thailand. So I would just send them a packet. So they were kind of getting this inspiration as well of like what I was doing on social media. I would send them these kind of guidebook packets to marry exactly that content. And that's kind of where we actually came up with the idea for NaviSavi, which it was called Check the Box Travel back then. And we actually created it as a TV show. So we created this idea as a TV show with my buddy and I, show you how to go do a country or a city. And then there was a web portion. And so you could almost watch as you go and book your travels as you watch the program. So we would show you kind of our highlight reel, but then you could go in and see short video clips of other hotels that we recommended at different price points, or other restaurants or bars or history. So you kind of got a quick visual glimpse of what that true experience was like without seeing it quick and edited in a TV show. And then you had to go do all the research yourself. So it was kind of like this choose your own adventure as you watched ours. We shot the pilot about 6 months later in 2013. That tells you how old I am. And, and then, so we edited, did everything, and actually pitched like Travel Channel and a bunch of networks for several years. And pretty much they all came back, said, well, does the website exist yet? And we said, well, we'd probably just partner with like Expedia and we'll just marry the videos with. And they didn't like that idea. And then they said, well, how many Instagram followers do you have? And I was like, I'm not an influencer, but we're pretty funny on TV. And, so they didn't bite on that either. So I kind of decided to let it go. And Lewis went off and did his own magic and work and created his own company. And I was like, I just can't give this idea up. So in 2017, I started kind of working on the idea of it, the business of it and the platform of it, not just a entertainment show, and started entering into like tech and travel startup pitches with the 60-second pitch, out of 100 people that got up there and get 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. And my idea was voted in the top 10 to be worked on for a startup weekend. So I knew I was getting in the right direction. But at this point, video and travel weren't at all, unless it was Wild on E or one of these TV shows. So I sat with like JetBlue Ventures. I sat with a lot of companies that year, and they all turned me down. And they said, video's too expensive to mass produce. You need this, you need that. You'll never be able to cover everything. So I started kind of moving into user-generated content, crowdsourcing that. And I guess kind of the disconnect that I had was I'm seeing something on Instagram, but there's no connection between it. You could hashtag search a bit, but it was like Bali restaurants or, specific. And like half the time the search results came back women's butts, bikinis. It was nothing relevant to what I needed. I couldn't sort by location, price. Obviously, TikTok and Instagram have evolved their platforms, and Snapchat greatly since this time, but that was really what I wanted. I wanted unedited clips because I could see what the content was without all the flashiness. Being a director, I have spent years in the editing bay in suites because we have a bunch of raw footage. Nobody wants to watch all that. But at that time, I was working with a brand, Kids Bop, and I was seeing the rise of our YouTube channel, which was user-generated content. These kids were just watching each other from video content they were shooting on their phones. So I really started to marry all of that into one and bake it into about 2018. And I hired a company to kind of help me flesh out the idea, research development for about 6 months. I went out and fundraised in 2019. I raised about $100,000, made my first version that was supposed to come out that summer. And of course, as tech works, it was 9-10 months later and I still hadn't seen anything. And so I finally got a product. I was ready to rock. And my goal was to release April 1st, 2020. And about 3 weeks before April 1st in our launch, a little thing called COVID hit. And probably I had the biggest April Fool's joke was on me because I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like, this is what I've worked on and now the product's mute, you know? So we kind of sat silent, excuse me, on that year. If life gives you lemons, make a vodka lemonade. And that's exactly what I did. And I basically got on all these virtual calls and conferences with influencers and say, you're sitting on content you can't reuse, you're not monetizing it, we'll pay you to upload it to NaviSavi, $1 or $2 to upload it. So we started slowly getting content, and these influencers were putting content on when we were just, our app was crashing. It wasn't even on the App Store. Like, bless their hearts, those who have stuck with me for all these years. And, you know, fast forward about 6 months later, we soft launched April 1st, 2021 quietly, and we put us on the App Store, and then we did official big to do in June of that year. And then we've only focused on content acquisition. You need videos before you can even search them. So we went gung-ho on that for almost the next year. And to this point now, we have 50,000 videos that are searchable, categorized by distance, price, filterable tags, everything from good Wi-Fi to LGBTQ content to activities. So we've got a wide range covering, I think, 160 or 70 countries now. So we feel like we've got a good start enough that people understand the premise. They know what NaviSavi is about. And this year has all been about making that content bookable. And the new release that we just put out, I haven't even announced officially to the community. Basically, now this content, it feels more like TikTok. It's got the vertical scroll. We added playlists. And those playlists, which are my favorite part, it's very much like Spotify. You can build a video itinerary exactly of the whole trip that I just did, whether that was the 6-day tour, or maybe that's my month in Goa, all my favorite spots. So you can basically now have a visual and map version of everything that I did. You can copy it. You can add your own version to it. You can add other people's. It doesn't just have to be mine. So it's kind of this like very malleable. It's almost like Spotify meets TikTok meets TripAdvisor without the photos or negativity. And there's no negativity. There's no editing negativity. It's only videos of places you'd recommend, because you wouldn't ever say, oh, these are the 8 worst places I ate in New York City. Here, go for that. You know, like, we're a community that's built on trust. And that trust comes from, I would send you only the places I'd recommend to my best friends. And that's kind of what our community is all about. And I think a lot of small businesses don't want another Yelp. They don't want another TripAdvisor. Right now, there's AI that is writing fake reviews left and right, and it's tearing small businesses down. And I also believe a lot of these OTAs, the online travel agencies, are taking massive commissions, the level of how many times the pie gets cut. So we are really just a platform in which businesses can upload their own content. They don't need a social media team every day creating dance TikToks for bullshit, you know, to only get a lot of views, but that view isn't making a conversion sometimes, you know, a lot of times. So for all the work and effort that you put in it, now businesses can shoot 3 or 4 videos of their business unedited, post them, and you're advertising for free. We take 5% of commission. So our businesses can offer lower prices, put more money in their pockets, and the consumer gets the best deal. Somebody said, you can't be Switzerland, but I'm going to try for a while, you know, get that passport. So, yeah, so kind of, you know, where we're at. We also are, you know, going to be looking at some additional revenue streams. You ask how we make money. So we make from a booking percentage, but we're also looking into, we now are accessing some wholesale access to hotels and flights. And we really want our people of our community to be a part of that. So we're thinking about just handing out wholesale flights and things for our super users, or maybe some of our influencers, so they can become their own travel agents. We haven't quite decided on some of those platforms yet. And then the final, we're really looking at getting into content licensing. haven't quite squared through exactly how we want to break that down with our users or content ownership, but we're definitely in talks with them every day because we want to make a platform that everybody can benefit from. So, we're not here to screw anybody over. And to the other side of that, everybody's uploading a video every day to Instagram and they're not paying you a single penny for it, and they own that. If you really don't know that, they technically have the rights to, they can kind of do whatever they want with a lot of that, and people can repurpose that content. So we're just trying to find a simpler system of travel only focused content that gets to the point. It might not be all glitzy, but I'd rather know what I'm getting in for and have those expectations set. At the end of the day, we feel that honesty is the best policy, and if somebody else recommended it, you can see it for yourself. You don't have to just read their description and say, who is this person? What's their income bracket? What's their lifestyle? Or what you see exactly as I see, no matter what different backgrounds we come from. So that's kind of the purpose of it, is shining a light on travel experiences.
Sharing experiences.
Sharing positive experiences.
Positive experiences. I think there's a big value in sharing something that's positive.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to be reading all these nasty reviews and like, oh, they had this and this, you're just like, I don't know. Now I'm more confused than I started. And I created this app for myself, to be honest. I was just like, I can't keep going down this, travel's a dinosaur when it comes to trying to make change because they're making money the way they are. But, at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a big shift. They're going to have to shift because the world is shifting. So I think it's just a matter of time, and they can choose to embrace this kind of video format. And I don't think it's going to go away. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So what are the kind of trends that you're seeing in the industry right now?
Yeah. So, tours and activities, they're trying very hard to make experiences bookable. A lot of those are booked kind of day of or day before experiences, whether it's in the local area. So I think if we can start shining a light on a lot of those small businesses that do not have a platform of working with Viator, and you go anywhere in Mozambique and there's maybe 2 people on Viator there, in some of these areas. So I think you're going to see a huge trend in the experience market. I think you've already seen a lot in terms of hotels and just like TikTok and restaurant on that kind of stuff. But what we've noticed is you see it now, 100,000 other people did, and everybody's trying to book this place, and now it's impossible to get into, or the price is racked up, or there's no way to get into a hotel that's now been featured on Travel and Leisure because everybody and their dog's now booking that. So I think we kind of show a bit of everything, the hidden gems, and give you all those opportunities. So I think people are looking for experiences. We're seeing people really blended, a workcation, nomads like myself, a business leisure trip. We're actually just traveling and working. Those are some of the big trends. It's kind of tough. I think the influencer will always be there, but a lot of these small businesses can't afford to fly out influencers and the budgets. And so if everybody can be a content creator, I think that's going to open a lot of doors. And I think with having a phone that shoots 4K video in your back pocket, you can capture any moment. And I think friends and family as an influence is never going to go away at all, because it's still the number one trusted source. It's somebody that has been there before that you can talk to. I think having a lot of access, there's a difference between the influencers and a lot of time the content they're promoting, they're paid to promote. So even if you go there, you're not getting the same hotel room, trust me, so, it's a give and take, and you have to know that going in, that it's glamorized. It's no different than creating a commercial spot for television. They're going to show you the glitz and the glam, but sometimes I want to know that, to get to this hotel I was staying at in Nicaragua, we had to walk through knee-deep water with our bags, and they had our suitcases because it was high season. It's just like that is what made the experience. And if you knew that going in, some love it and some hate it, but that's for you to decide, and I think that's, people are craving experiences and doing things that give them a little more challenge than just sitting at a resort for 10 days. So,
yeah. The fact that you can have people that you follow and see what they're doing also adds a personal touch to that. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, it drives content, brings users to the platform. It's like a snowball effect.
We kind of think of it as NaviSavi is its own ecosystem, in which a lot of times they talk about the traveler loop, and that's inspiration, research, booking, planning process, the actual journey, and then the feedback of whether it was great or not. And we feel like we capture only the cream of the crop through that whole process. You get to see where your friends, you can even see people that have been in the destination before. Maybe you're a budget traveler and you travel like this person. Now you can basically follow in their footsteps to an extent. So that's kind of what we're trying to create, is you can find like-minded people, you can follow where your family went, you can document your latest travels. And people say, hey, I saw you were just in such and such Florida. Where should I go to nightclubs? Where are the good ones? It's all on NaviSavi. Don't keep asking me. I'm no longer going to drop it in a WhatsApp chat and then it disappears. And then somebody sends me a Slack channel and that's gone. And gone are the days, I promise you, of losing recommendations through channels. And that content now is going to be all put together, gathered in one source, and you can now share that entire playlist with all your friends. And they can use that playlist and copy that playlist or add to their own. So I think the shareability of content that's coming together that is bookable and not disappearing is going to be the big thing. So
I love it. I love it. You guys have something good.
This year is going to be a big year for us, a make or break. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was one of my next questions. I wanted to ask about what's the roadmap going forward?
yeah, close some funding. We had an unfortunate situation where a big angel investor fell out about mid last year. And of course, it was probably the worst time to be fundraising as well with the economy. So we kind of been back at it the last few months and really looking to close kind of our next round. And with that round, we really look at bringing together our platforms, meaning right now things are a little more segmented based on the business deals that we've made in the last year. We've also have a partnership with Meta. So all of our content shares directly to Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, and that includes what's called a attribution link. So if you watch a piece of content was shared from NaviSavi, you can download NaviSavi to watch more content. We really are going to look at growth, retention, and then obviously you get those things and the revenue will come. But, that's not where investors wouldn't want me to say that, but that's not our focus is for the moment. I think it's really getting that content, the stickiness, the shareability, and really getting our users to love our product and want to be on there and share it word of mouth, because that's kind of how we want our community to grow. We're not here to just blast a big celebrity to say something about us. So I think that's kind of the initial roadmap is, and really developing our algorithm. So we start serving you content based on videos you liked or playlists you save, a lot more user interaction, which we don't really have right now. And then I think for the longer term, we would like to be kind of a one-stop shop for travel. Our USP is 100% video content and it's unedited. And I think as long as we have that, we see us being able to serve our content to everyone. I've been in touch with some of the people who supply content from the airlines and, expanding that to a further and further reach. We don't sell your data, NaviSavi, maybe a data participation even, in which the more you want to give to them, the more revenue you make as a person. So those are kind of the long-term goals. And obviously you can't talk video without talking NFT. So that's definitely be able to trace our users' content and help them as well across multiple platforms. And we have big dreams. It's been a long journey, but I'm positive and I'm not going to stop. I didn't come 10 years down the line to give up. They don't call it in the music business an overnight success. That's years and decades of hard work put behind that. And I think now is finally our time that the short form content is resonating with travel and tourism. But I think this is our year in which it's all colliding, and we've got a really good grasp in the market with the content that we have, some of the great influencers and content creators that we have on our platform, and just true community support. That's what I'm banking on. We're not an overnight success. We're here for the long haul. We're the TripAdvisor for a new generation. That's the premise of NaviSavi, and that's kind of our journey. I know it's kind of a long-winded story, but it comes from the heart, and it's built because we saw a need for this.
Agreed. Boiling down to something that's more authentic. I think people are craving that. So you're hitting it on the nail.
I hope so. You know what? A nail this year is fine, but I would like to jackhammer this thing finally. Excellent. Awesome. And thank you so much for being excited about our product and what we're doing. And, it's just excites me. Like, I love talking about video and travel and content. I was about ready to go to bed here in Goa. Now I'm all wound up. So yeah, I can always talk forever about videos and travel content. So
That's awesome.